All right, so I think we'll go ahead and begin now since it's exactly the time where we should start. All right, so hello everybody, welcome back to Introduction to Python, the second session for the China time. And then first of all, what I was thinking we would do is let us go ahead and do a quick review. So let us go ahead and do a quick review. So I'm going to go to my GitHub, and then I'm gonna create a new file. So you don't have to do this step. You don't have to do this step. And then you probably see my screen is frozen. Now you should be able to see the GitHub screen. So so what I want you to do is do any of you want to share your answer? Was it correct or incorrect for last week's assignment? Recall the last week's assignment is called hello, which basically you're going to take in a name, maybe. So the most difficult test case would be this. So you need to change basically John, right in a really weird case. You need to change this to basically John Doe, right? Written in this form. This may be the hardest, but it's probably the easiest assignment. But okay, so let me just check chat really quick. Okay, so does any of you want to share your code? You guys can unmute yourself, talk about the code, or send the code to me in the chat. Does any of you want to share your code? How did you do this? How did you turn weird case name into this format? Does any of you want to share your answer to share your code to share your solution of last week's assignment? Does anyone want to share your your solution to the last week's assignment? You can copy the code in the chat, or you can just talk about your code. Nobody want to share their code? Nobody want to share their code? Okay. Does anybody want to share the code? Share the solution. Okay. Well, if nobody wants to share the solution, what I will do is I will go share my solutions then. So here is my solution. Here's the answer to last week's assignment. I will put it into the website as well. So let's take a look how does it work. So if I go ahead and run this, so if I go ahead and run python answer.py, and then it's gonna say enter your name here, which I'm gonna say John Doe. Right in this weird format, press enter. Now you can see it nicely formatted into this. And notice that I actually added something. I added .title with parenthesis at the end. So this is what we call a method. This is what we call a method. And it's basically going to enable us to use some additional function. That is correspond to a certain object. We'll talk about that more on next week, where we're going to talk about the object-oriented Python. Yes, Kevin, if you want to share your code or just unmute yourself and talk about your code, it's also fine. All right. Well, that's the same, Kevin. Okay, if you're talking about this, I mean, it's basically the same thing, but basically what I use something called an Fstring. I'm not sure they cover Fstring. Maybe I didn't cover Fstring, but an Fstring is basically a way to embed Python. Fstring is basically a way to embed Python expression within Python expression in a string, so it's kind of formatted nicely. All right, so so this is basically our solution. Does anybody have any different solutions? But does anybody have any different solution want to share? Kevin's solution is basically you just added Kevin's string concatenation will basically add two string together instead of using Fstring. So either it works, it should be print out the same thing. So does anybody have any different solutions? Because I see some interesting solutions in your GitHub repo. Anybody want to share? Your project get deleted. Yeah, if you don't use 14 days, but okay, let's see. Okay. All right. All right. So I want to paste a solution in. So Peter sent a solution. Peter, do you want to explain the solution? Do you want to explain the solution while I'm trying to paste it into the Git pod? No, why not? Why did you want to explain your solution? Because your solution is really interesting, and your solution is really interesting, I would say. It's a little bit complicated, but it's really interesting. Okay. Okay, this weird Zoom thing. All right. So, okay. So I will go ahead and explain Peter's solution a little bit then. Peter, are you sure you don't want to explain your solution? Okay. Well, I'm just going to send Peter's solution to the chat. Since copy to everybody in the chat. So please open up your chat, and then I'm going to send a message to all of you. This is the solution sent by Peter. So if you take a look, this is what we call a function. This covers a lot of stuff. This is cover a lot of stuff that I don't expect you to understand. So basically, here's what's happened. Okay, here's what's happened. So he created a function that's called transform name, and then notice taking an argument called name. So then what he did is he created a variable, capitalized name parts. Then he used a map function. I actually never used a map function before. So by your code, what I would think is you're splitting. So notice that Peter used name.split. This is we will talk about that when we talk about list. This is going to use in a list, and then you can just listen to me. You don't even need to understand this. This is way too complicated. And then above name.split, it's lambda. It's what we call anonymous function. And then basically it lowers everything and it just capitalize the first thing, capitalize the first letter. So it's first a lowercase everything and then capitalize only the first letter. And then later it join everything together. So we expect it's maybe that maybe it's going to return you a list. And then that's why you join together. So then you can return something like John Doe. Works. Okay, so this is really a complicated solution. We expect you guys to really understand this, but that's basically how that solution works. So there's many different solutions. Some solutions are complicated than the others. Some solution comes up with the same as mine. So great job for completing assignment 0 if you did. And now let's go ahead and get started on talk about our new content that's we want to learn. We will learn today. Did we deleted all the files? Yeah, we're not gonna. So for every day, for every session, we're gonna start fresh. So you're not gonna like build onto last week per se. All right. So now what I want to talk about is the ideas of function. Has anybody heard of function before? In programming, has anybody ever heard of function before?
Me.
Who is me? Who is me?
I have.
You have? Okay. Does anybody want to explain function briefly?
So basically you define something and you give it variables. And then And then you, so whenever you run the function and then put in the variables, then basically it does the stuff automatically for you. You don't have to write the whole thing over again.
Okay, okay. So yeah, you're kind of correct. So some wording might need to be changed. So yes, basically that is what kind of function. Function is a way to reduce redundancy in your code. You can reuse this code for multiple times. You can just imagine store a bunch of things into a box, and then you can just move the box around, use a box. So yeah, so that's basically what is function. And we'll take a look some function today. Okay, we'll take a look some function today. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started by defining a new function. Right? Get started by defining a new function. And to define a new function, to define a function, we'll use a keyword. We'll use a keyword called def. Def stands for define. It's basically used when you are trying to define some new function. Define a new function, and then come after def. It's your function name. It's your function name. For example, in this example, I'm just going to use hello. My function name gonna name as hello. So naming a function needs to consist of short, concise, and following all variable naming conventions as well. So you cannot use a number as your starting character. You can only use letter, numbers, and underscore in your entire function name. All right, so I'm gonna add parenthesis at the end with a colon. And we complete the first line of defining a function in Python. Defining a function in Python. Okay, then here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. Notice after you press enter, you get indented. You get indented. And then this indentation, it's basically, you get indented. Basically, it's automatically should indent for you. And basically, whenever you have a colon, like here, you need to always indent all the code below it, as long as it belongs to whatever happening at the top. So for example, what's that mean is all the code that belongs to this function need to get indented. All right, so it should be a further level than not hello. So what I mean is you need to go ahead and indent. So your code shouldn't align on where my mouse cursor is, but should align with here is where my mouse cursor is. So basically, in here, I'm just going to type print hello world. And then you can see we have some empty spaces here. Python documentation. So the official Python guys suggest you're going to use spaces instead of tab, though I prefer tab. And then usually it's 4 spaces. Okay. All right. So this is how could you define your first function. All right. This is how could you define your first function. Again, to define a function, you always need to use def keyword, then the name, and then the parenthesis, colon, and then you will say print hello world. Okay. Print hello world. All right. Okay. So this is a basic first function that we created. And now let's go ahead and run this file. Python function 0.py. Okay. Function 0.py. And then if you take a look, there's nothing prints out, because once you create a function, in order to use this, you need to what we call a function. You need to call a function. So to call a function, it's pretty simple. You just need to type the function name with parentheses, and this gonna call the function for you. So now if you run this again, you will see it's gonna say hello world, and it's gonna print it on the screen. So now what's happening here is just basically when you're doing the hello, and then it's going to run the code for whatever is inside of this function. So now you could reuse this code for multiple times. For example, I can say if I want to print out hello 3 times, then I can just say hello parenthesis, hello parenthesis, hello parenthesis. So basically call this function 3 times, and then I will be able to print out this function for 3 times as well. Okay. All right. So Kyle, what do you mean by your doesn't run?
Does it have to be in a folder called .thea?
No, it shouldn't be in a folder. Actually, it should be outside of a folder. It should be outside of a folder.
When I do like Python function, py.py, like that's mine is called py.py for some reason. But when I run the function, it's not working.
Okay.
Also, there's no like you know how you have like a play button on the side? I don't have that.
Okay, could you share a screen?
Okay.
And then I highly discourage any of you to actually use a play button on Gitpod, because I don't really want you guys to use it.
So there's like, I know, but there's still nothing here.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Click on File. Could you go to File? Click on Autosave. Okay. Now close py.py.
Do I delete it?
No. I mean close your file. So close it. Don't delete it. So okay. So just hover over here and then just click on here. Click on where. Okay. No. Okay. Don't move it into the CF folder. Move it out. So move the py.py out. Yeah. Now rename it. Now rename it to function 0.py. Okay.
Oh,
Will you go over to yesterday's homework?
I already go over the homework actually.
Oh, I wasn't here.
Okay. I will send the solution to the in the website a little bit later. Okay. Then try to run Python function.py again. Function 0.py, sorry. Function 0.py.
Oh, okay, never mind. I wrote function on here, so.
Okay, now it should work. Yep. All right, great. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? By the way, to make you guys a little bit more focused, I turned the chat into the mode you can only chat to me, so you cannot chat to anybody else. Okay. This is, yeah. Okay. So you can see this is how we can make our function to print out hello world for 3 times, right? Although to be honest, since this is really simple function, this is really a simple function. You don't like you don't really need to add this. You can just like type this 3 times. But you can imagine we have a complicated code, especially want to execute it multiple times, where you want it to be able to be exported to use in different Python file. That's a great idea to create different functions. Okay. So the website link, I'm gonna send it to everybody again. So please give me 1 second. All right, there you go. Okay, so this is how our function works. And then if you try to print this, obviously it's gonna print out 3 times. All right, 3 times. And then now I want to talk about the efficiency about the code. So notice that we typed the same code, same lines of code for 3 times. As we briefly talked about last week, there is a better way to do it by using loop. And then we're just going to do this by using a for loop. So this is kind of like a review from last week. So does anybody remember how to construct a basic for loop in Python? And I want the loop to run 3 times.
For I in range 3, print hello world, I
I'm just
plus
gonna
equals
call the-
1. Oh,
I'm
and
just
also
gonna
I
call-
equals 0, and also I equals 1.
What?
So I was saying for I in range 3, print hello. Oh, first I have to set I to z, set I to 1, and then print hello, and then I plus equals 1.
Okay. Okay. Since this is a for loop, it turned out that you don't need to do this, but you got a great start. You just need to do these 2 lines of code. And then since I'm talking about function, I'm not going to directly print out hello world. I'm just going to use this hello function. So I'm just going to call the hello function for 3 times. And for those of you who forgot about for loop, don't worry about it. So for is a keyword when you're starting for loop. I is the counter variable. In is another keyword to represent you want to like loop into this range of 3. And then range of 3 going to basically allow you to run the loop for 3 times. And then for the 3 times, I just want to do the same thing, which is print out hello world by calling this hello function. And so if I go run this loop again, you can see I got this basically the same thing. Loop it 3 times and print out hello. All right. So does anybody have any questions so far? Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. Well, if no question, then we'll go ahead and talk about another way that we can deal with function. So notice that we need to go out and construct our own for loop in order to make this to print out hello 3 times. But here is a question. What if I want to print out hello 5 times? Well, now you need to change this to 5, right? I mean, it's not really a big change, but what I want to do is I don't want to put a for loop. I don't want to write the for loop out on my own, or at least outside of function. What I want to do is probably somehow to let the function know I want to print out hello world for a certain number of time, and then maybe use a for loop and then print out the loop, or print out hello world for that a given amount of times. So let's go ahead and take a look how can we do that. Then this is where I would introduce the ideas of arguments in a function. This is where I will introduce you to the ideas of arguments in a function. Has anybody heard of arguments in a function before? Has anybody heard of arguments in a function before? All right. Well, it's fine. So notice now I'm going to create a new file called function1.py. Function1.py. And for function 1, here's what's going to happen. So I create a new empty function. Notice that I use pass. The reason I use this keyword called pass is basically this is a placeholder. This is basically a placeholder. All right. So because at least one line of code under this must be indented. But for now, I don't want to implement anything yet. So I'm just going to use pass for a placeholder just to make the syntax work. All right. So now what I will do is we'll go ahead and introduce arguments. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a variable called n, where argument called n, and I'm going to put this inside of the parenthesis. So it's going to be def hello parenthesis n. gonna written look like that. And then here's what's gonna happen. N is going to be an integer. N is gonna be an integer. And then what's gonna happen to N is going to determine how many hello world should be printed on the screen. Okay, and this is what N should be defined. This is what N should do. And then to do that, it's fairly easy as well. We'll do something like this. For I in range of N, so notice now, instead of hard code 3, 5, or 8, I give the user the full functionality to run whatever loops, whatever times hello this function they want to run by using this this variable called N. And then N is an argument. N is basically a way so that you could possibly like decide. You could so N is in a way that the user can input N somehow, and then the function will know, okay, the user wants, if the N is 3, then this hello function know, okay, this loop going to run 3 times because the user wants to see 3 hello worlds print on the screen. And that's why I'm using for I in range of N, which N is this time reference to how many times this loop should run. And then simply, I can just print out hello world. Hello world. And then now here's the interesting part. If we want to call a function, instead of just say hello with parenthesis with nothing inside of the parenthesis, I need to actually input a value. And this value, which in this case is going to determine what how many hello world should be printed on the screen. So here I'm just gonna say 10. See if it works. So I just need to change this number, and then all the functions are stay the same. I just need to change the number when I put in this hello as argument. So I can put 10 as argument. So now if I go ahead and run this again, Python function1.py, now you can see I see 10 hello world printed on my terminal because I said 10 here. So hello 10 for I in range of 10. That means this loop gonna run 10 times. So that's gonna be print out 10 hello worlds. Okay. So does anybody have any questions with how we can use arguments within a function? Does anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. So, okay, easy so far, I think. So now I'm going to introduce one more, not really one more, but next I'm going to talk about the return value. So here is the interesting part. Here's the interesting part. And for now, I just want you to take a look on my screen. And then I'm going to run something like this. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. What if I accidentally did something like this? Print out hello of 10. What if I accidentally did something like this? What do you think I will see on the screen? What do you guys think I will see on the screen if I did print hello parenthesis 10? So basically, it's still the same thing as hello parenthesis 10, hello with 10 as argument, but basically add a print in front of it. So what do you guys think we will see? What do you guys think we'll see on the terminal?
So like hello 10 is hello world, hello world, hello world. And I guess it means print hello world, hello world, hello world. And I think there isn't really any I don't think there will be any difference.
So you don't think, so it's still gonna print out hello world 10 times without any difference. That's what you say, right?
Yeah, because when I use input, sometimes I just say like input, what is your age? And it worked the same when I said print input, what is your age?
Okay, all right, yeah. Input is a function that doesn't really show what I'm showing here. But yeah, input is an interesting function. And then, does anybody else have any ideas? What are other people's guesses? So I'm sorry, I forgot your name again, but basically this person said, hello world is, he think hello world gonna print out 10 times. Does anybody have any different ideas? You can put it in the chat as well if you want to. Does anybody have any different ideas? What? Okay, sure, we do get lots of messages. We got error traceback. Peter, do you want to elaborate on that? Peter, do you want to elaborate on that?
I was just guessing.
Okay, what error do you think we'll get then? No specific error?
Like syntax?
Okay, I'm just gonna write SYN short for syntax. Okay, syntax error. All right, interesting. Does anybody else have any ideas? Anybody else have any ideas of what we'll see if I run print hello prompt C10? Well, if no, here is what you will actually see. Here is where you will actually see. If you pay close attention, you will see from here to here, we indeed see hello world for 10 times. But on this line, we see none. Does anybody want to guess why do we see a none here? So non-existence means basically undefined. What do you guys think does none in here means? Do you guys want to guess why did I see a none here?
Okay, I'll give it a guess.
Yeah, go for it.
So like every time it loops once, it increases I by 1 automatically, right?
Yeah.
So like when it increases n to 10, and then so like on the 10th time it prints hello world, and then it goes back to for I in range, and like, okay, I'm gonna increase I by 1 again, and then I is 11, and then he says, and then it goes like, oh, I is like greater than 11 is greater than 10, so it stops printing. But
Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. So the difference between print hello 10 and then just hello 10, because basically we add a print in front of it. You can see there, we didn't see none, we just called the hello function for 10 times. But we do see none when we call print for hello 10. And that's the reason because as one of students mentioned in the chat is as Peter mentioned in the chat is none, because there is no return value. There is no return value in a function. And if you remember, when we use input function, I mentioned briefly that you can assign a variable to an input function. That's because input function has a return value, and the return value is whatever user typed on the terminal. So the reason we see none, that's because we don't have a return value. And the return value is completely optional. It's basically if you want to return something after the function is done. For example, I could just return 0. Just return 0. And then in this function, we don't really need to return anything, so we just want to print stuff out. But I could just say return n or return completed or anything that's, and then, so it's going to be anything. So we're going to use the return, and it's going to be some data that you want to be able to like user assign as a value, a variable to, or stuff like that. And then, yeah, that's basically what is a return value. A return value is going to enable you to be able to assign a function as a variable. So it's going to be, so this function can actually equals to something. All right. And then one more thing I want to mention is anything below this return statement is not going to get run at all. Anything below a return statement is not going to get run at all. Where actually anything not get run by return statement logically, not get run. Okay. So you could practically have multiple return statements separated by some conditional statements. And then, for example, you want to check if something's true, then just want to return. Otherwise, I want to keep this function from running. Keep this function running, right? So this is a return value. Does any of you have any questions with return value?
Yes.
What's your question? If you have a
I
question,
still don't understand why there's a none.
you still don't understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so by default, what's going to happen is if you don't have a return value, it's going to return none by default. None is
but
just
why
mean
is-
nothing.
Yeah, why is it, but why does it return something?
Return something is, for example, input function. It returns whatever user type on the terminal, right?
Okay.
So that's where we use the return value. By default, it will return none. It will return none. So if you don't have a return value, that's why you see none on the screen. None just means undefined, nothing.
But why does it have to return a value?
That's just how function works. It will return a value. It will have to return a value. Okay, but in Python, you don't need to explicitly state. You don't need to write a return statement, but the function will always return something. But if you don't write a return statement, it's going to return none. And that's just how function behave, or unless you return something different.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Hope that helps. So this is a quick about return statements and some functions. Okay. So now I would like to go back to my laggy slides. Shouldn't use Google Slides, should use PowerPoint, which I installed. But what I want to talk about now is this. Okay, so now what I want to talk about is this. So my original idea is separate you guys into breakout rooms, but since from my other experience, I don't think that's going to work really well. So I guess we're just going to do it here. So has anybody heard of Fibonacci sequence before? Has anybody heard of Fibonacci sequence before?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I just spoiled
Yeah.
a formula for you guys. Okay. Okay. Whoever said yes. So if you're in my last series of class, you will know what I'm talking about. But for whoever's new, basically to this class where you just attend your first class last week, does anyone want to explain what this Fibonacci sequence is?
So the first terms are 0 and 1, and basically the next terms are the sum of the two terms before it. Like you have 0, 1, then the next term is 0 plus 1, which is 1. And then because the next term will be the sum of the two terms before it, and that will be 1 plus 1, which is 2, then you get 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, and you just continue on.
Okay, yes, that's basically what the Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci sequence usually begins with 2, 1. And then start with third term, we see a pattern. 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, and then 5 plus 8 is 13. So on, so forth. All right. This is a Fibonacci sequence. This is a Fibonacci sequence. So what I want you guys to think about is this. So and there's a mathematical formula to it, as I showed briefly here, which this formula can apply to anything n which is n that is greater than 2, I think. Okay, great slides. All right. So now here's your task. Here's your task. I want you to be able to define a function, and that function taking one argument called n, and n is basically the position in a Fibonacci sequence. For example, I'm just going to label positions. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So these are Fibonacci. So these are the position numbers. So for example, position number 1 in Fibonacci sequence correspond to 1, and position number 5 in Fibonacci sequence correspond to the number 5. So I want you guys to think about is this. Given a function, could you implement a function that takes in a position number, for example, 7, and then it's going to return the actual value of a why do I clear the screen? Of guess I can undo this. Yeah. Of what? So what I want you to do is be able to take in position number, and then basically I want you to, and then I want you to return the actual number in a Fibonacci sequence. So for example, you could define a function called fib, and then basically fib of 7 is going to give you something like 13. For example, you can just use return statement as we talked about. You can just say return 13. So this is what I want you to do. And then in getpod, you can go ahead and create a fib.py. And then go ahead add some starter code that's going to show you here. So again, Fibonacci sequence. So it's basically 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, etc. So it's basically the previous two number combined. And then let me go ahead and show. So now what I want you to do is, again, to define create a function where it's going to take in a position number in the Fibonacci sequence, and it's going to return the actual value in the Fibonacci sequence. So for example, let me just create a file called fib.py. Short for, oops, not fib.lpy. Fib.py. So I'm just going to rename the file really quick. Please give me a second. Fib.py. And then here's what's going to happen. I'm going to define a function called fib. And it's going to take an argument of n. And now what's going to happen is you're going to write some code that's be able to return the actual value correspond to that position number, okay, in a Fibonacci sequence. So does anybody have any question about what I want you guys to do? Do you guys have any questions, or do you guys still don't understand what I'm talking about? All right. Well, here's what I want you to do. Could you raise your hand if you understand the question? Kyle, I see your hand's raised.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Oh, sorry. I never paid attention to that. But okay. So if you understand the question, could you please raise your hand? And then you know what are you doing. So could you raise your hand? If you have any questions, just unmute and talk. Don't raise your hand. All right. Apparently, only one person understand the question. Okay, two person understand the question. Great. So I want you guys to be able to work on this, and so basically it's gonna return and value in that Fibonacci function. Okay, and then so you guys can go ahead and get started work on this. Feel free to ask me if you have any question. I'm gonna give you guys about 5 to 10 minutes to work on this.
I actually have a question.
Yes.
So it keeps on saying no such file or directory. Like it can't find the file. I named it hi.py, so it's easier to type.
Okay. All right. Could you share a screen?
Okay. So if I do Python.
Okay. Here's your request. Here's your issue. You put hi inside of the CF folder. If you move it out.
Oh wait, what are you supposed to put in the CF folder?
Nothing. You shouldn't put anything.
Okay.
You shouldn't create anything. This is for getpod, which is going to automatically create some file for you.
Okay, it works now. I put 17.
All right. Good.
Thank you.
All right. So, well, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time to work on this Fibonacci function, and then to make you guys a little bit more collaboratively, I'm gonna turn the chat back to, you can chat with everybody publicly and privately. Actually, let me just change it to, you can chat with everybody publicly. And then, so you can feel free to type some thoughts or some question in the chat, and anybody who knows the answer can help you. Okay. There's no question, feel free to work on this. If you come with a solution, come up with a valid solution, please go ahead and raise your hand. I'm gonna actually just, okay, thank you for raise your hand. I'm gonna lower a hand. If you have any question, again, don't raise hand, just ask me or type in a chat. Though preferably if you talk to me. If you have, let's see, I want to say, okay, so if you finished, go ahead and raise your hand if you finish. Okay, you define this fit function. All right. Kyle, you finished?
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you put in 10, it should be 17, right?
No. One sec.
Wait, can you show the presentation again? Because
Okay, one sec.
I don't understand.
Okay, so I'm just gonna write the sequence really quick for you guys so you guys can test it out. I'm gonna write the first 10 sequence, I think. So let me just go share whiteboard. So Fibonacci sequence is this. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. I move this down. 13, 21, 34, 55. So this is the first 10 Fibonacci sequence that you can use for testing, see if your code output your correct solution. Max, you finish?
Yeah.
All right. Yes, Max?
I said, yeah, I did.
You did? Okay. Good. All right. So this is a Fibonacci term. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to raise their hand, and then I can go over the solution. Max, do you mind if you send your code privately to me? Oh, Peter also done? Okay. Peter, could you raise your hand so I can see it more visually? And then could you send your code privately to me, please? Thank you. Max, do you understand your code as well? Kyle, your code doesn't work.
But it's like,
Kyle.
yeah.
So okay. So so what's your code output for your code? So what happens if you print out hello 7? What's the output?
Let me see. $11? No, that's not right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you put 7, it should be 13.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, just keep in mind that you're inputting position number, so you need to actually find the term.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Position number. So you are finding the 7th Fibonacci number.
It's 13.
What? I cannot hear you, Max. Could you like move closer to the mic? Your volume is really low.
It's 13.
Okay.
Wait, do you add it itself? Oh, okay. Now it makes sense.
All right. Okay, Max, would you send your code to me, please?
So now so you're just supposed to add itself to itself -1.
Okay. So basically, if you have 7, it should be able to return 13 because the 7th Fibonacci number is 13.
Yeah,
So
it does that
input
now.
8, it should return 21.
Yeah, it does that now.
All right. If you input 10, it should be 55. If your code works, feel free to just send me in the chat so we can take a look.
Wait, is 10 19?
No, 10 is 55.
I forgot the rule.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Leon, for sending your code in. I love how Peter is always testing his code using assert statements. You should be able to write some tests for your assignments. Okay. Well, I think give everybody enough time to try. Does anybody want more time, or do you guys think the time is enough?
Wait, give me some more time.
Give it some more time. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and give all of you 3 more minutes, and then I will go ahead and talk about the solution.
Can you explain the sequence again? I still really don't understand what we're trying to do.
Okay. So here's what I'm trying to do. This is a sequence, right? And then you're going to give a position number. So for example, if you input 7, it should tell you the 7th Fibonacci number. If it's 8, it should tell you the 8th Fibonacci number. If it's 10, it should tell you the 10th Fibonacci number.
Yeah, but like, what's the rule?
What do you mean by rules?
So,
The sequence right here?
13 is 7 plus 6. Is that supposed to?
No, starting is 5 plus 8.
5 plus 8?
This is a previous 2 term for 3.
Okay, so it's 7 plus 1 and then
So it's the last, as Peter said, it's the last 2 number added together is the next number. Okay?
the
To
last
the previous 2 number. Okay, it's the previous 2 numbers.
Oh,
and then
okay.
All right, we have less than 1 minute left, and I'm gonna go over the solution real quick. All right. So, all right, Max shared his code as well. Great. Okay.
Okay, I'm almost done. Almost done.
All right. So, Peter, Leon, and Max, do you guys want to share your code? All right, we'll go ahead and talk about the solution now. Since we'll still have a lot to cover actually today. But okay, Peter, Leon, and Max, do you guys want to share your screen and talk about your code briefly? You gonna share your code, Peter, Leon, and Max? Do you want to just, yep. All right, good.
Hi.
All right, do you want to briefly explain what's going on here?
So you have a function called fib, and then there's a number called n in there. So if n is 1 or 2, as said here, like 1 or 2, they're both 1, so you return 1. But if it's not like 1 or 2, if it's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever number, then you return fib n minus 1, which is the number before it, and plus fib n minus 2, which is the number before the number that before it.
Okay. Yes, this is the one exactly what I come up with. And then I will just go ahead and annotate on your screen. This is what we call recursion. Recursion. The idea of recursion is basic. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you just stopped sharing, but okay. I guess I will share my code then, because I want to annotate a little bit. But okay. Okay. So it's basically this. So it's a recursion, and what is exactly recursion is you're calling a function within a function. So take a look. We're actually calling this fib function within this fib function, and ultimately what's going to happen is going to find the previous 2 number, and this is what we call the base case. This is the base case. And then this is basically what happened if it reach the bare base. So so it need to return something different than just return the previous 2 number combined. And that's why we have 2 base cases. If the n is 2 and is 1, just going to return 1. So let me just draw a diagram for you. If the fib is 5. So what's happening, we're going to call fib of 5. In my diagram, what's going to happen, we're going to call fib of 5. Well, first of all, we need to go find fib of n minus 1, which is fib of 4. Which is fib of 4. And then we need to find fib of n minus 2, which is fib of 3. All right. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. So then in the fib of 4, is 4 equals 2 or equals to 1? No. So it's going to do this else part again, which is going to do fib of 3 and fib of 2. But so this is what's happened here. And then, but for fib of 3, what's going to happen is it's going to do fib of 2 and fib of 1, because it keeps subtracting, since 3 is not 2 or 1. Just move this window a little bit. Fib of 1. All right. So now what's going to happen is fib of 3 going to separate into fib of 2 and fib of 1. Fib of 2, it's just going to directly, since 2 is equals to 2, so it's just going to return 1. And we got fib of 2 here as well, so it's going to return 1. Fib of 1, going to return 1. And then, let me go and move this up a little bit. And then this as well. And then fib of 2, so we have one more level to go. Fib of 2, going to return 1. Fib of 1, going to return 1 as well. So what's going to happen is we're supposed to add everything together. So we're supposed to go ahead, proceeding with adding everything together. And then after we add everything together, which is practically 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, and then it's going to go ahead equals to, what is going to equal to? What is going to equal to 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1? What do you guys think is going to equals to?
5.
5. Yes, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is indeed going to equals to 5. And this is the basic ideas of recursion. Calling a function within a function, create a tree like this. Okay, create a tree like this. So thus this can help us to find a Fibonacci number. Fibonacci sequence is a famous used in recursion finding. So yeah. So does anybody have any question with this recursion? All right. Okay, well, if no question, then I will go ahead and call. So Leon, could you share your screen? Because I want to talk about your code as well. Do you mind? Could you share your screen as well, Leon? All right, thank you very much. And if you want to, could you explain your code a little bit? Do I explain the code a little bit, Leon? Leon?
YouTube.
Need to fix something?
Okay, so terms at the start is just to like, well, what is the term? Number one, number two are basically the numbers that consist of the start of the Fibonacci sequence. Well, number two is used to counterbalance the two numbers already put down at the end. And then while number is smaller than terms, well, it's basically like a repeat. Basically repeat, well, I said that number x is equal to this number one and number two, and then this repeats every time until numbers smaller than terms. Then for the last step, you just put the final number.
Okay, yeah. So this is great. So this is another solution. This is what we call an iterative solution. You could not on share screen. This is what we call an iterative solution. Notice didn't use a recursion, rather use a while loop. This is actually much more efficient than using recursion. It is more, it's much more computationally faster and wasting computationally faster. This is iterative solution. So notice that with base case is 0, 1, the current number is 2. So if as long as the number is less than number of the terms. So okay, so the number I'm gonna guessing is track of which position currently is. So number x, it's gonna be 0 plus 1, which is gonna be 1. Number 1 is number 2. Number 2 is number x, so on and so forth. Okay, so this is a great iterative solution as well. Great job. A person would think coming up with an iterative solution is gonna be a little bit harder than a recursive solution. All right, so great job, Leon, great job. All right, so now you can stop sharing screen. Great, all right, so now what I will do is, so does anybody have any question about Fibonacci sequence and recursion?
Yes.
All right, yeah, do you want to talk about your question?
My code doesn't work.
Okay, all right, let me go ahead and let you share your screen really quick. All right, could you guys share your screen really quick? Okay. Yes, VS Code user, nice. Okay, let's see. Okay. The reason your code maybe not work is to return 1 here instead of 0, so you can return 1.
But here's n equals 0.
Wait, no, okay. You shouldn't have n equals 0. N should be at least 1. So you should check n equals to 1 or n else if n equals to 2. And both of them should return 1 because they are the base case. These are using recursion.
So if I run it, it still doesn't work. It doesn't even return anything.
Because you didn't print out. You need to type print. So print, and then put fib of n. Close this off. That's
Oh.
Yeah. All right, just share your screen. We're gonna assume that solves your problem. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, great. So now I'm gonna share my screen again. Does anybody else have any question about recursion, since this is kind of important concept in the world of programming? Anybody have any questions? All right, if no, then I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some data structures, some data types, basically. Data type, data structures, whatever you want to call this. And now I want to talk about a special data structure called list. I'm going to go and create a file called list.py. When's the break? The break is between it's at 8. I mean, well, half an hour, after half an hour, about 25 minutes. That's will be the break. All right. So now I want to talk about list. Has anybody heard of list in Python before? All right, Peter, you heard about a lot of stuff in Python. All right, do you want to briefly explain what is list, if you want to?
It's a type of data type.
Okay, do you want to make a little bit more specific? So how it's different than the other data types?
I guess it's like the most changeable.
You could say that. You could say that. I kind of get where your idea is. So a list is a store of collection of values. It's a collection of values, and then to create a list, okay, basically do something like this. So I'm going to define a variable, and then okay, all right. I mean, so on Git pod, I'm gonna send everybody the link again. This is the Git pod. All one. All right. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna create a list, and then make it simple. I'm just gonna assign it to a variable called fruits. And does anybody want to spamming some fruits out? Just I'm interested. I'm say some fruits here. Apple. Just one sec. Apple. What else do we have? Apple, tomato are basically the same thing. Apricot? I never heard of that fruit before. Dragon fruit? Okay. Yeah. Dragon fruit?
Cherry, please cherry.
Cherry? Okay. What else? Just one more should work. Banana. Yep. All right. Okay, banana. All right, there we go. Okay, so we got 5 fruits here. 5 fruits here. And then now here's what you can do. Let's go ahead. So now notice how we created a list. We use the square brackets. We use the square brackets, both opening and closing square brackets. We use comma to separate different values. So basically, each comma gonna separate like each value. So just know where to end. And then so we have 5 values here because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 4 comma separated 5 elements. And this is a central of list. List is a collection of values that is changeable and indexed. So now let's go and print out fruits. Go exit out on my terminal really quick. Python list.py. If I run this, you can see you've got the list prints out. But it's a little bit boring if you just see everything prints out. So maybe what's going to be a little bit more fun is we just see one specific item prints out. So okay, so I'm going to take the first one. So what's your favorite fruit out of these 5? Out of apple, apricot, dragon fruit, cherry, and banana, what's your favorite fruit? I'm going to take the first one, whoever yelled either in the chat or... Okay, let's see.
Fruit cherries.
Okay, that's enough. Okay, yeah, okay. So the first one is actually banana. All right, first one is actually banana. So let's see, Ken is not understanding fib and how to use it. Well, I could explain a little bit later, but I could explain a little bit later. Okay, so because I asked, does anybody have any questions? But yeah, but could you next time, if you have any question, just let me know when I ask you if you have any questions or not, because that's gonna fast stuff up. During the break, I will see if I have time during the break. Okay, so so now if I want to get a banana, so I'm actually gonna use, so in the fruits, I'm gonna say print fruits, square bracket, gonna type number 4. Type number 4. And that's gonna get the 5th elements, actually. So notice that we type number 4, despite the banana is at number 5. And that's because computers counting, especially in a list like this, is counting start with 0. So it's not 5, it's 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So the first element is 0. And the last element is basically the length of the entire list minus 1. The list is basically 5 because it got 5 elements. All right, so print out fruits, bracket 4, square bracket 4. All right, so that's why we need to use 4. 4 is also known as the index number, so it's begin at 0. And then banana, so if we count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th index number is banana. So now if we run this at Python list.py, you can see, we actually see banana printed on the screen. All right, so does anybody have any questions so far? Does anybody have any questions with list? All right, well, if no, then we're gonna proceed. So now it's pretty interesting, though I would say still a little bit boring, in a way that we actually cannot, what about if we want to add a new fruit in it? Now in the chat, type what fruit do you want to add. I'm gonna take the first fruit. I'm gonna type in the chat. Okay, star fruit it is. Okay, we already have apple. Mango is a great one, but you type a little bit later. But okay, star fruit. That's the first fruit that is typed on the screen. So now what I will do is I want to add star fruit into my fruits list. Okay, so now what I would do is this. So I would type fruit.append star fruit. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna append star fruit at the end of this list. That's what is gonna happen. It's gonna append or add whatever you type in the parenthesis to the end of this list. And the
Okay, I have a request.
Yeah, what's your request?
So for when you're talking about remove, can you just add tomato to the list and remove tomato?
No, that's we'll get to there. We'll get to there. Tomato, I mean, yeah, we don't have tomato, but okay. Okay, so this is our start fruit. So after we append start fruit to the end of the fruits list, I can just say print out fruits. Print out fruits. And then what's gonna happen now is, let's just go run this file again. You can see, we actually see 6 elements now. We see apple, apricot, dragon fruit. I never know how to pronounce that. Apricot, is that how you pronounce it? Because I never heard of that.
Apricot.
Apricot.
Apricot. I don't know.
It's like fight between British English and American English. But okay, apple, apricot, dragon fruit, cherry, banana, and star fruit. All right, so these are 6 fruits in our fruits list. Great. All right.
Wait,
so now
I want to append star fruit between cherry and banana.
You want to append, okay, that's a great question. That's a great question. What if you want to append it to different place? I will go ahead and answer you a little bit later. I'll answer you a little bit later. That's a great question to ask. Okay, so now what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to type in the chat. Now we're going to remove a fruit from the list. And type of fruit to remove from the fruits list. Banana it is. Banana it is. So we're going to remove banana out of our fruits list. Going to remove banana out of our fruits list. So now what's going to happen is this. Now what's going to happen is you want to remove something, the easiest way is just remove by typing the, it's just like by typing remove. And then in here, I just need to remove the value, okay? So I can just say remove banana. Remove banana. And then what's going to happen is if you try it again, we try to run this Python list again. You can see we removed the banana. Let's grab print out the fruits again. Print out the fruits again. And now you can see we are missing banana because we removed the banana out of our fruits list. So you can see we have apple, apricot, dragon fruit, cherry, and star fruit. Notice that we don't have banana anymore. So that's interesting part about remove, basically append and remove stuff from list in Python. All right. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far? Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, I would like to talk about this then. I'd like to talk about this specific question that somebody brings up because I'm really bad memorizing name and I forgot we talked about that. But one person just said, okay, what if I want to add star fruit between dragon fruit and cherry, for example? Well, here's what's going to happen. Then you need to know where do you want to insert it? Where do you want to insert? For example, if you want to insert between dragon fruit and cherry, you are inserting into 0, 1, 2, third position. So then in here, instead of using a pen, we'll just say insert. And then we can want to insert into index 3. And then the element to be star fruits. Now if you run this again, you can see now the star fruit is at index number 3, which is between dragon fruit and cherry. Okay. Does anybody have any question with that? Okay, does anybody have any question at all about list so far? Does anybody have any questions? All right, if no, then we're gonna talk about a little bit more complicated stuff with fruits. Unfortunately, there will be no more fruits interactions. You don't need to spam fruits to chat anymore. Can you add grape? I could. I really want to add grape actually. Watermelon. Okay. Well, too late, I guess.
So delicious.
Too late, I guess. Let's see if we have other chances. We might have other chances to add more fruits. Who knows? Okay, so now.
Can I look at the code for a little bit?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna comment these things out. So just gonna keep it original 5. Apple, apricot, dragon fruit, cherry, and banana. That's our fruits. Okay, so now what I want to do is print out each of these fruits in a terminal. So I can proceed doing that by using a for loop. It's original 5. Yes, I want to name it like that actually. I want to go ahead. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and loop through this fruits list and then print out each fruit inside of the fruits list into a terminal. Okay. So there are two approaches. One approach is this. You could keep it simple And you could run for I in range, for I not in range, for I in fruits. And Python going to automatically take care of loop through to each element. So this I, what's going to happen, it's going to change it to, oops, apple, apricot, dragon fruits, cherry, a banana, each time that this loop get run. So here I can say something like this. Could just say print I. Print I. And then if we go to run this again, so Python list.py. Notice now I can see every element printed on the screen. And that's because Python's for loop automatically take care of loops through into the list. If you provide a list here, and it turns out that range is also a list. Range is also a list. Let me just show you the secret between range. Range is also a list. So if you try something like this, range of 10, can see even though it's still a range object, but if I forcibly want to turn this into a list, notice now it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it turns out that range function at the end of the day is also a list. And we can just use the list to navigate as a for loop. It's automatically going to handle 1 to the n, where to start, and what should be the counter variable, what should the value for the counter variable be each time it can run. Okay? All right. So this is the first approach. The second approach we can do this is for, we are going to still use in range. So you can say for I, range of the lengths of fruits. Because you cannot directly pass fruits into the range. That's not going to work. So you need always pass an integer when you're using range. So I need to get the length of the fruits, or how many elements is in this fruits list. And then in here I can just say print out I. But I this time it's not going to be the position. It's not going to be oops. But I this time it's not going to be directly what fruit is in, what fruit it is. It's actually going to be, It's actually going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because this is like because it's a range function. It's just going to print out the number start with 0, and then whatever number minus 1 ends on. Whatever it ends on, whatever number you inputted minus 1. So in here, I could say something like this. If I still want to print out each element, I can just put fruits in front of it. I just can treat this. So this is index number. I can treat it as index number. And then now I can still see this fruits printed on the screen. All right. Does any of you have any questions? Do any of you still have any questions? All right. If no, then I'm going to go ahead and talk about one more thing. If you want, briefly, if you want to check if an element is in a list, you could just use the in keyword. And since it's a Boolean expression, I just print this out. So you can say, I want to check if apple is in the fruits list. I can type apple in fruits. And is apple in fruits? Yes, it is. That's what's returned true. But is tomato? You better hope it is. Okay. But what it is, but is tomato in the fruits? Well, tomato is not in the fruit, so it goes false. Okay. All right. So so this is basically about list. And then for the latter half part of the class, we're going to talk about other data types such as set, dictionary, and tuple. I don't think we're really talk about tuple, but if I had time, we'll talk about tuple. But if you don't have time, we'll left it to the next week. All right. Does anybody have any questions? All right. If no, I'm gonna begin a break a little bit early, so you guys can start have a break. Hope you have a wonderful break. Gonna get back approximately at 8:05 Pacific Standard Time, which for you guys should be 11:05 China Standard Time. All right. Okay. This is about last. Ken, are you here? Ken, are you here? Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you're a little bit confused on Fibonacci sequence. So what are you confused on?
I don't know how to use it.
Okay, what do you mean by how to use it?
I don't know, like, how do you print it out?
Okay, so then you need to call the function. If is your code similar to mine, Ken?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to print out you want to see actual solution or actual result, you can just use print fib, and then here you could type which position number you want to see. For example, we can just say, okay, I want to see what is 10th number, 10th Fibonacci number in a Fibonacci sequence. So you can just type print fib of 10. So now I can just run this file again, python fib.py. Now you can see 55 printed in your terminal.
Okay, thanks.
All right, do you have anything else you need help with, Ken?
No.
No? Okay. You understand how this works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, great job.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so as our timer slowly times down, right now it's 8:05 Pacific Standard Time or 11:05 China Standard Time. So I'm gonna close my terminal and stop sharing. All right, so I hope all of you are back. Could you guys all unmute yourself? You're back, just so I know you guys are here.
Hi.
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 Great, good enough.
Hi.
Hi. Wonder if everyone would say hi in this class. It's gonna be all right. So now let me go ahead and share my screen. So we talk about okay. So I talk about list. One more thing I want to talk about is called set. One more thing I want to talk about is called set. And here, and I'm just gonna create a file called set.py. And then I'm going to briefly talk about the homework, give you some hint, and then see if you guys are able to do it. Really sounds so like aircraft attendants when we land. All right, Pacific. Okay, yeah, I actually can feel that. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about set. Has anybody heard of set in Python before? Has anyone heard of set in Python before? So, do you guys want to know? Do you want to say what set is? Yeah. Okay. Peter. All right. Well, I mean, it looks like you're really familiar with Python. Do you want to briefly talk about what is set, and then what is major difference between set and list? Do you want to talk about that?
Sets are basically lists, but with no duplicated items.
That's really concise. That's exactly what it is, a set. So let me show you some stuff, some cool stuff you can do with set. So let me go ahead and yeah. Okay, so you could initialize a new empty set by using this. You can use in the set function. So I'm just gonna say s equal to set parenthesis. So it's gonna create a new empty set. Okay, it's gonna create a new empty set. And then, okay, so I guess here's another chance for spamming some fruits. Here's another chance for spamming some fruit.
Cherry. Tomato.
Wait, don't. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna ask for 3 fruits. Not now. Okay. Don't start yet. And then I'm just gonna say 3, 2, 1. Okay, say 3 fruits. I'm gonna add it. Mango, apple, watermelon. Pumpkin is not even a fruit. But
It actually
okay.
is a fruit.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, anything
You
with
say that, then a pineapple is a berry.
pumpkins have seeds, so they are technically fruits.
Bananas aren't technically fruits, they're technically herbs.
Yeah, anything with seeds is
You know, on
technically-
Google, I found that pineapples are technically berries.
Okay, I don't think I should start this discussion, but okay. Again, anyway, we have mango, apple, and watermelon. All right. I should probably add more part like this where you guys can spam something and you guys can not argue with each other. But okay. So instead of append, you're gonna use add if you want to add some new element to a set. So here I just said s.add mango. So I add mango to the set. I also add apple to the set. I also add watermelon to the set. Okay. So add watermelon to the set. Okay. So now let's go print out s. See what do we got. Python set.py. Set.py. Now I can see we see watermelon, mango, and apple. We see watermelon, mango, and apple in the set. All right. Now here's another chance. I want you to. So now here is the interesting part about set. If I go ahead and attempt to add another element, so I will instead of so you can say I add mango, apple, watermelon. If I want to add apple again, sorry, now it's spam fruit time, but if I add apple again, you can see apple only appears once. Apple only appear once. because a set rejects all the duplicated values. Notice it didn't give me an error when do that. It just automatically said, okay, we think apple is already in the set, so we're not going to add apple anymore. So set is really good if you want to dealing with some non-duplicate values. That's exactly what you are going to do during this in assignment 1, which is this week's your homework. Okay, and I'm going to briefly talk about the homework as well. So it turns out that you can change the type between set, list, set pretty easily. For example, you have a list like this. You have a list like this: mango, apple, watermelon, and apple. And if you want to change this list into a set, it's really easy. So I'm just going to say fruit. It's really easy, and I can do something like this. I can say print set. So I can use set function and put fruit, and just put fruit instead of the set. And then now let me go run this again. You can see now what I usually call is setnify this fruits list. The reason you can see it's fruits, it's set, you can see we have 2 apple in this fruits list, but we only see 1 apple in this set. All right. And it turns out you can turn it back as well. Once you turn it into a set, you can also turn it back by using list. So now you can listify the setnified fruits. Now if we run the set again, you can see you got mango, apple, watermelon. Notice that we don't have apple twice. Okay. All right, so does any of you have any questions? Does any of you have any questions? All right. Well, if no question, then what I want you to do is go ahead and head over to here. I want you to go ahead and head over to here. So cc-python.glitch.me/week1. /week1, because like now you know why everything's start with 0. That's why you know it's called assignment 0 instead of assignment 1, even though it's assignment 1. Whoops, I didn't change this week 0 to week 1, but this is week 1. Okay, so this is again where you're going to find all the resources. We have a notes, assignment number 1, slides, and source code. Source code is basically similar to what I use in class, but should be similar. Slides is the slides in PDF format. Notes is some notes or some helpful resources. But what you are going to do now is click on assignment number 1. So this is your homework. So this week's your homework is not really realistic. So it's not really a real life. It's more like a Pythonic experience. So we're just going to use this assignment invite link. So what you're going to do is once you navigate to this website, go ahead, click on this assignment invite link. I'm going to go ahead, click on this assignment invite link. And then you can see we got something like this. Not sure what happened if I click on update. But I'm just gonna try and see what happens if I click on update. But okay, but then you should be able to see something like this. If you didn't do it, I mean, you didn't accept the assignment, so you should see something after you finish a step. You should see something like this. And unfortunately, I misspelled classroom, and I don't want to change it because I'm afraid it's gonna break everything. Okay, so I'm gonna wait a while you guys create a new repo. If you see this screen, please raise your hand. After you complete the step, is said to you. Go ahead, raise your hand if you see something like this after you complete the steps. All right, Jimmy see the steps, so I guess I'm doing everything correct. All right, gonna wait you guys. I'm gonna wait for a little bit where you guys are creating some new repos. Can you send me the link? Okay. Wait, it said the first is good. Okay, 1 sec. The link is this. It's not this. The link, the assignment invite link is this. I more want you to be able to navigate to follow up with me. So zooming. Let me just copy link address. All right, this is your link address. How about this? Jimmy, could you share your screen? No problem. Because I want to see more like what has students see. Since I already create a new thing, so I just want to take this. You cannot share your screen. Okay, that's it. And if you want to share their screen. Okay, so you have 2 different computers. Okay. Does anybody want to share their screen when they start their assignment so I can see anybody? Just, yeah, Peter. Yeah, sure. Yeah, could you share your screen, Peter? Thank you. Okay, so could you, okay, so.
I can't, the thingy's in the way, yep. So,
Okay.
there it is.
All right, so click on assignment invite link. All right, good. So you should be seeing a page like this. And then click on the second link. Then access as your assignment. Click on that.
Oh.
And you should see something like this. Okay? You should see something like this. And then what I want you to do is go ahead and go to list.py. And list.py is where you will edit your list. As I put a doc string, and then I show you some sample code, something that you should do, okay? And if you could you go back to the website, to the question statements. So like okay, yeah, you need to go all the way back. Yeah, so there's the specification, and then I also provide some inputs, sample inputs and outputs. So I'm going to talk about that as well. So again, you can see from last week's assignment, you can see you kind of get where assignment usually leave. And then there are like a lot of different ways to accomplish the same thing. It depends on you, how hard or how easy do you want to make it to yourself. And then I just really highly recommend you guys to read the documentations, because read documentation is one of the most important knowledge and ability a programmer should have. Now you can unshare your screen. You don't have to share your screen now. All right, thank you, Peter. And now I want to go ahead. So now once you navigate to the page, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I want to briefly.
We're in the accent. Oh,
what? Okay. So now I want to go ahead and click on my link, and then let me go ahead and and then I'm going to go ahead and go to my GitHub repo. Go to the repo. And then again, okay, so what happened? So okay, so since I kind of already did the assignment, so I'm not gonna share the screen, but once you click on list. Okay, 1 sec. So, but then you can click on the list.py. And then I'm going to go ahead and hide. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle that hide all of these. All right. Okay, I don't think that works really well. 1 sec. I'm just gonna hide my code really. I'm just gonna hide my code. Okay. All right, let me go unpause my sharing. So once you navigate to list.py, oh, whoops. You should see something like this. You should see something like this. And then what you need to do is click on this edit. Click on this edit, this pencil button, edit this file, and then you can edit your file. So I recommend you to go ahead and paste your code from either your Git pod. You can just write the code in the Git pod, and then just copy and paste all your code to here. to the GitHub repository. And one more thing I want to talk about is where can you see your grade? Where can you see your grade? So if you want to see like how many points did you get, for example, if you want to see that, then you can basically go here. You can go to, you can click on actions. Actually, you can click on actions. Click on actions, and then you can click on, let's see. And then you can click on the most current one. So it should be the most current. So the most current one should be the one that you just made. For example, the most current one for me is this GitHub Classroom feedback. If you get everything correct, you should see a check mark. Otherwise, you should see something else. And notice that it said auto grading complete. My point is 6 out of 6. So I got the full credit. There are 6 points total. And then if you want to take a look some sample test case, you can navigate to list_test.py. List_test.py. In here, it lists like everything is actually being tested. So for example, we have 2 tests that you can immediately see. Test 1, and then you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Your goal is basically to find the differences between these two lists. For example, 2 exists in all lists, 4 exists in all the lists, and then that's why when we have 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, and the list must be sorted. The list must be sorted from the smallest number to the biggest number. Okay. All right. And then you can see I implement also solution, which you cannot see because if you see, you can just copy mine and work. But you can see there are different tests. 2 tests that you can see, all other 4 tests are randomly generated. All right. So this is your homework for this week. Do you guys have any questions with the homework?
No.
Okay, I see 2 persons talking once. Do you guys have any question about the homework? Nope. Okay. No homework. I mean, no question. Okay, great. So, so if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to email me. Again, this is some example inputs and outputs. For example, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 7, 10. You can see the output should be 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. And then I'm just going to show it, so make sure you guys understand it. Because we have 1, so we don't need 1. Do we have 2? We have 2 in both lists, so we get rid of 2. We need to find the difference between the 2 lists. And then we have 4. 4 is unique. 5 is also unique. 3 is also unique. 7 is not unique. And 6 and 10 are all unique. And then make sure you store them, okay? So I will give you a hint, okay? What you could do is you could try to subtract 2 lists and see what you got, okay? And then notice that if there are multiple duplicates, I just want 1. I mean 1 per each item. So there should be, it shouldn't be 1, 2, 2 or something. It always should be 1, 2. And there are some example test case. It should be support all the links, and you will not know the links prior, okay? And then in the difference between lists, you will also take in 2 arguments, list 1 and list 2. These are the 2 lists that you'll be comparing. All right, so do you guys have any questions? I don't think you guys have any questions. Okay, do you guys have any question about this class?
No.
Nope. Okay, good. So this homework is due on next Friday if you want to work on it. Yeah, so well, if you guys have no question, I'm just gonna do a quick recap so you guys can leave. So again, what we talked about today is we go over the homework assignments, and the solution of the homework going to be sent into the WeChat group and sent in via the email as well. It's gonna available at the website as well, so you can take a look at the solution. There are many creative solutions. I'm gonna try to copy many creative solutions as I see because they are so creative, and sometimes I even think about, that's an interesting way to solve this. That's so we talk about that, and then we talk about functions, specifically 3 things: define a function, arguments, return statements. Well, I mean 4 then. I'm recursion. So recursion is also another really important concept that you need to know in programming in general. In programming in general, okay. And then okay, sorry about my phone noise. In programming, yeah, and then we talk about some data type. Whoops, let me just mute my phone. Now talk about data types. What 2 data types did we talk about today? What 2 data types did we talk about today? Anybody want to answer the question? What 2 data types did we talk about today? Anybody want to answer the question? Set and one more, list. Yep, set and list. These are the 2 data types we talked about. And your homework is due on next Friday. Be sure to complete it. Though I really cannot force you to, but highly recommend you to do the assignments. I mean, actually, if all of you do the assignment, that's actually gonna be a little bit tricky on my end, since I actually need to pay to run these auto tests. But so just make sure to not run auto tests too much. I mean, it's fine because we only have 2,000 free minutes. But then I have to public your repo, but I guess it's fine. All right. Well, so thanks for attending this class, and then I will go ahead and see you next week on the same time. Have a rest of your great day. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Complete your homework. Bye. 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 Be sure to complete your homework. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. All right, I'm just gonna end the meeting. Bye, everybody. Be sure to come to homework. See you next week.